Hello, America. I'm Mark Levin. This is Levin TV on blazetv.com. Very excited. This is part one of our special program where John Heybush, the director of the Reagan Presidential Library and Foundation, interviews me at the Reagan Library a few weeks back on unfreedom of the press. So we cover a whole panoply of issues that I think are going to fascinate you. We have a wonderful time. There were 1,800 people in the audience. They sold out the main auditorium with about 1,300 people. And then the overflow rooms, plus they set up chairs under Air Force One. Yes, they have the old Air Force One there too. So we were packed, we were thrilled, we had a great deal of fun and a lot of substance. So now you get to join us too. And it all starts now.
Good evening, everyone. For those I've not had a chance to meet today, my name is John Heybush. I have the honor of being the executive director of the Ronald Reagan Presidential Foundation. As always, here at the... If you would, in honor of our men and women in uniform who defend our freedom around the world, please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. All right, before we get started, there's just a few people in the audience I want to make sure I recognize tonight, and I will start with Mark's wife, Julie, and his son, Chase. Julie, Mark. This is special. Mark's mother-in-law, Sylvia Strauss. Sylvia. And it would not be an event at the Reagan Library if I didn't recognize Elton Gallagher and his wife, Janice. Elton. Okay, first, before the great one takes the stage, I want him to know how grateful all of us are that he, once again, has taken 3 days out of his incredibly busy life to leave the bunker and travel all the way to California and back. By visiting us, I mean not only this unruly crowd that is in this packed house before me, but also the hundreds of Denali fans live watching this next door. Welcome to all of you. Now, Mark has been here quietly a time or two with his family over the years, but this is his 6th official visit to the Reagan Library. A tradition he so generously started way back in 2010 when he was here with his #1 New York Times best-selling book, Liberty and Tyranny. Did I mention that his newest book, Unfreedom of the Press, the one each of you are holding in your hot little hands, is this week's #1 New York Times bestseller? It has been one of the greatest honors of my life to count this man as a friend. I genuinely mean that. I bet that each one of you feels the same kind of kinship with Mark as well. Listening to him on the radio each day, or watching him on television, or getting the chance to shake his hand, it's a big deal. And comforting to know his voice and intellect reaches millions of people each day. Gratifying to know his point of view, our point of view, is so eloquently expressed amidst all the noise and the chatter we are treated to from talking heads and the many who pretend to have our nation's best interest in mind.  'Cause, 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 Mark has achieved so much since he was with us 2 years ago. Levin TV, brand new back then, has grown by leaps and bounds. On top of that, he now dominates the TV ratings on Fox News each Sunday with his show Life, Liberty, and Levin. His radio show, on the air for 17 years, now attracts over 7 million listeners every day. Is it no wonder we all took such great pride when he was recently inducted into the National Radio Hall of Fame a few months ago? So some great highs for Mark since we were last together with him. But just like you and me, he's human too. He's faced some sadness and some challenges too this past year. He and Julie lost Mark's dad, Jack, and his mom, Norma, in the span of just a few months. There's a modest wooden bench located just outside this auditorium in honor of them that bears their names. It overlooks that beautiful green valley below that faces the Pacific, the same view shared by President Reagan's own gravesite. He's taken on a lot of work. It's a superhuman effort to produce and perform as much as he does and as well as he does every day. And he does it for us, his Levinites. He does it for his country that he loves so much. Yeah, it's true. Now, Mark, I think it's no secret that we here in California have been busy too. While you were writing your best-selling books and producing brand new shows, we were busy in the great state of California, the same state that twice made Ronald Reagan its governor and its 40th president, becoming #1 in so many things as well. Since you were last with us, Mark, just think of what we've achieved while you've been gone. In that time, California has raised its state income tax to the highest in the nation. We're #1. Here in LA, our state sales tax and local sales tax combined are the highest in the country. Sanctuary cities across this great land have nothing on us. We have the distinction of being a sanctuary state. No wonder then that we harbor more illegal aliens, undocumented immigrants, than any other state in America. Since you last visited, we've succeeded in attracting the largest homeless population of any state in the nation. We have the highest gas prices in the nation. And not to be outdone, we own the largest debt of any state in the nation. Finally, we hold the record of filing more lawsuits, 52 to be exact, against the Trump administration than any other state. That's right, I said it, Mark. We've been busy too. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in giving a warm welcome to Mr. Mark Levin.
Let's go to Texas.
Mark, how you holding up? You're like you and Sean Hannity, like 3 hours of radio every day, an hour of TV every night. Now you're doing an hour on Fox each Sunday. This is the busiest you've ever been, isn't it?
First of all, let me say this. This is home to me, the Reagan Library. Served in the Reagan administration. This is home to me. 3 days is not enough. And I love all of you great patriots out here in California. You fight the state, you fight the locals, you fight the battle for the federal government. One after another said, don't forget we're here. I will never forget that you're here. I remember when this was a vibrant state. I remember when Ronald Reagan was governor. I remember when Duke Majan was governor. I remember when Pete Wilson was governor. I remember the great days of the Golden State. And now you can see what blue one-party rule does. It takes the most magnificent state in the country and puts it number one where it ought to be number 50, and number 50 where it ought to be number one. It's a disgrace what the left has done to this country, and they're so proud of themselves they're trying to do it to the state, to the whole country. When you look at the people who are running right now, I'm speaking for myself, not the library here. When you look at the people who are running on the Democrat side, they're insane, absolutely insane. So to answer your question, whatever time I'm putting in isn't enough. So we'll do whatever we have to do. You know, the way I look at it, honestly, there are men and women in uniform in hellholes all over this world right now to protect this country. I am blessed to have a microphone and a camera in my face every day, and I will use that damn microphone and camera to advance the cause of liberty. This is easy to what 18, 19, and 20-year-olds are doing in Afghanistan and Syria, all over the country. This is easy compared to what the Border Patrol is doing and ICE is doing right now. It's easy compared to our law enforcement, what they're doing. It's nothing compared to what these heroes are doing in this country. So they're the ones who deserve our gratitude.
Mark, there is something about this book. It flew off the shelf to be number one very fast. And I know Liberty and Tyranny was number one too, as the others, but there seemed to be something special about this book at this time. Are you able to explain it?
I am. The press is out of control. The press is undermining freedom of the press. I make a distinction between the modern mass media and a free press. CNN is not a free press. MSNBC is not a free press. The New York Times is not a free press. The Washington Post is not a free press. A free press is a press that's not pushing an ideological agenda, that isn't in the back pocket of one party or another party, that isn't pushing social activism, whether it's climate change or what have you. When you turn on the TV today, most of these channels, they are browbeating you with their propaganda, with their left-wing agenda, and so forth. That's not freedom of the press. Freedom of the press is actually occurring outside those types. It's on the internet. It's with websites. It's with bloggers. It's with news people all over the world. They're the new pamphleteers. The difference between the modern media today and the patriot media that helped founded this country is the patriot media, the men with the printing presses, with the pamphlets, 30-some newspapers, that was it. They were trying to fundamentally transform government. They wanted representative government, and they didn't even want a lot of that. Today, the press is trying to fundamentally transform us, not the government, the civil society, and the individual. That's diametrically opposed what the press is supposed to be. When is the last time, I've said this on the radio, when is the last time there was a leak to the New York Times that was helpful to the President of the United States? It never happens. When is the last time there was an expose in the Washington Post that was negative on Nancy Pelosi? It never happens. They beat this president and beat this president and the people who support him every day. They did it before he was elected. They did it during the election. They've done it since the election. They're doing it today. That's not a free press. That's propaganda. That's what that is. And to answer your question, what this book does, it's not a surface level book. I look at the history of the press. I look at the Constitution and history, and I said, I'm really dug into this issue of the press. Where does it come from? Why is it important? And so forth. We think we know. So I look at that. Then I look at the evidence. It's overwhelming. What goes on in our newsrooms today. There's no diversity in our newsrooms. It's all one way. And then I looked at how the American people think of the press today. 80% of Republicans don't trust it. 80% of Democrats do. Well, why do you think? And then I look at the social activism, like Chuck Todd announcing on Meet the Press, where he says, we're not going to do climate change denying anymore. I said, who the hell is this guy? Is he smart? No. Does he have a particular background in this subject? No. Is he a hack? Yes. Okay. There are physicists, there are PhDs, there are people, climatology, meteorology. There are thousands of them that have written extensively about this. So now they're banned from going on Meet the Press because we are climate change deniers. Does anybody here deny that there's climate change? What we deny is there's any damn thing we can do about it. That's, there's a sun up there, So I think people are looking for answers, and people are looking for arguments. And what's exciting about this book to me and your reaction to it is, what I'm trying to generate here, I remember I was part of the Reagan Revolution, the Tea Party Revolution, the Article 5 Convention of States Revolution. And what we're trying to do now is defend the Constitution and those who want to remove a duly elected president of the United States. And what this book does is explain who they are, because they're political, they're a force, and if we're ever going to get our country back, if we're ever going to get our freedom of the press back, we have to deal with these people. And that's what this book is about.
I was thinking, Mark, when I read your book, that if President Trump had been given the opportunity to give it its title, he'd call it Fake News. That's to be his thing.
It's a brilliant title. I wish I'd thought of it.
I was listening to your show a few months ago, and it became apparent. I think you had an opportunity, maybe quietly, and maybe more than once, I don't know, to sit with our president, to talk with our president. I'm not asking you to betray any conversations or confidences, but having met with him and having spoken with him, should we have all the confidence in him that you think we should?
I don't meet with him that often. There's an occasional conversation. And I will tell you, this is a very smart man. He's an enormously charismatic man. He knows what's going on. He knows where he wants to take the country. He's not anything like he's portrayed in the media. He's very deep. And, when you look at him compared to Biden, it's like a joke. So I would tell you this, in the Republican primary, I supported Cruz. And then come the general election, I supported the president, Trump. And I'm glad I did, because a lot of his positions are so solid. And I don't know that any of those other Republicans on the stage, as I think back at, could have withstood what he's withstanding right now. Mm-hmm. And I think we are extremely, extremely fortunate that he's there. He stands between us and them. And he and his family are taking more crap than any president or family should have to take. It is outrageous what the left gets away with, what Pelosi and her husband get away with, what these chairmen of these committees get away with. So I have told my family I will do whatever I have to do, whether it's go on Fox, whether it's behind the radio, whether it's write a book, to defend this republic and this Constitution against the mob that is trying to forcibly remove a duly elected president of the United States.
On the mob, it's a good point. Bill Barr, our new Attorney General. Do you think, Mark, because you were Chief of Staff to Ed Meese when he was Attorney General, you know that place, do you think that the Attorney General is going to be successful in getting to the bottom of all that went on behind the scenes and all the intelligence agencies and the FBI? What do you think we're going to find the truth of what actually happened?
I could not be more proud of Bill Barr. He didn't have to take this job. He'd been Attorney General before. He'd been enormously successful General Counsel and CEO. He could have gone off to the villages like Robert Mueller and been done with a... but he didn't. And he is cool-headed. He's cool as a cucumber, this guy. He knows what he's doing. They're going to hold him in contempt. Is this a joke? I hold them in contempt, by the way. And I don't need a vote to hold them in contempt. I just hold them in contempt. He is a man of the law. He comes out of the Bush administration. He doesn't have any access to grind. But he sees that we have a rogue House of Representatives. He sees that we have rogue committee chairmen, that they have one objective, which is to try and destroy this president and his presidency. You got 6 committees using government-paid-for staff, using tax dollars, that have turned the House of Representatives into an opposition research organization, an appendage to the DNC. That's why they want his taxes and his bank records and his financial. I've never seen anything like this in my life. And he challenges them. He says, I'm not going to give it to you. We'll go to court. He's going to sue them and go to court. And they say that's obstruction of justice. This is like the dumbest House of Representatives ever. You listen to Jerry Nadler. Or maybe not. You listen to this guy. He's chairman of this committee. He goes on, won't come on my shows, goes on MSNBC, CNN, wherever. Maybe goes on Russia TV for all I know. And he goes on and on. The president's committed crimes. The president has obstructed justice. I'm thinking to myself, well, wait a minute here. He's a congressman that runs a committee. Committed crimes? Was there a trial that I missed? Was there a sentencing that I missed? Just because a prosecutor writes a report doesn't mean the president has committed anything. Then he waves around the Constitution. I go, wow, you just violated like the 4th Amendment, the 5th Amendment, the 6th Amendment, the 14th Amendment, and you're waving around the Constitution of the United States and saying the President of the United States doesn't honor this. And then you have Nancy, it's almost like a freak show. Then you have Nancy Pelosi, who says, I don't want impeachment, she says. She wants him in prison. And then you have one of them, they bring fried chicken to the microphone, and he wants to arrest the Attorney General, handcuff him to the chair, and then take him to the cafeteria. They call this their prison in the House of Representatives here. And I'm thinking to myself, what the hell's happened to the Democrat Party over here? Seriously, the kooks are running the Democrat Party. So, what the hell was your question again? I don't remember.
Well,
he doesn't remember it either.
Let me see where this is going.
Yeah.
So do you think they'll drive this car right off the cliff and they will actually try to impeach President Trump?
I think they want to drive his ratings down to about 37, 35%, which time they'll pull that trigger. But if they can't get him down that far, I think they're just going to keep pounding him, keep going on TV with the Democrat Party press to keep trying to destroy him so he'll have a difficult time in re-election. So I think the media and the Democrat Party, wittingly and unwittingly, are working hand in glove. They know they can do and say anything, and Brian Stelter and Don Lemon and Chris Cuomo are just going to repeat it. So I think they're trying to drive down his ratings. If they can get him down in the mid-30s, I think they'll make a move on him. But here's their problem. They're looking at polls right now, and it's too early to look at polls, but they're looking at polls right now, and they see the president's behind in Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, some of these other states. And Pelosi's sitting there thinking, I don't know if I want to mess around right now. Maybe we can win these states. What they don't want to awaken is you. They don't want to awaken the millions of Americans who are either not involved or annoyed, but would become very much more active. And she knows that, and she's concerned about that. So that's why you hear some commentators say, go ahead, try and impeach him. Because there's millions and millions of people that, no, wait a minute, you're trying to impeach the president for what? We just had an investigation, there's no collusion and so forth. So she's walking a fine line, but I think if she could impeach him, she would. She wants to get the numbers down. I think if they get them down, they'll try. See how weird this is? We have an election coming up in less than 2 years. So you don't need to impeach anybody, particularly since the Senate's not going to remove him. So it's all a fan dance. So they're trying to figure out whether they impeach him to make sure he doesn't win re-election, or just pretend they're investigating him but not impeaching him to try and make sure he doesn't win re-election. In the meantime, China's on the move, Iran's on the move, North Korea's on the move, all these countries are on the move. In the meantime, there's a disaster on the border. They don't care, they're not focused on that, and I think that's what the Republicans need to focus on.
So does he get reelected?
I'm not Nostradamus, first of all. I think in the end, the American people will elect him president of the United States again. I think he deserves it. But I don't think it's a sure thing, and I don't think they think it's a sure thing either. Why do you think there's open borders? Why do you think red states are becoming purple? Why do you think purple states are becoming blue? Why do you think Ronald Reagan couldn't get elected dog catcher in this state today? Or Colorado has gone blue, or Nevada has gone blue. We're running out of states. And so I think it's a problem. And by the way, as a footnote, this is why I'm annoyed by some of these pseudo-constitutional conservatives when the president is trying to secure that border. You know, I take a backseat to nobody when it comes to the Constitution. You have the National Emergencies Act of 1976 that has been used over 50 times. Did you ever hear any of these pseudo-constitutional conservatives object when any other president used it since They didn't even know the law existed, as a matter of fact. And the president is using statutory authority, he's using budgetary authority, he's using all the relevant authorities that have been used by other presidents. There are aspects of that law I don't like, but he's not using the aspects of that law that I don't like. So we can have a discussion about that. And also this tariff thing. I'm not a big tariff guy, except when it comes to China, and I think China's the enemy. So China needs to be addressed economically and militarily. China's not a joke. China is going to be the #1 superpower if this president's not reelected. I'm going to tell you that right now. That said, he's not using, he may say he's using tariffs on trade with China. The way I look at it, he's using it for national security because they keep stealing our stuff. And that's a good enough reason. When you look at Mexico, this is a national security problem. We have millions of people trying to get into this country, into communities. You have hundreds of thousands of people being released into communities. The mayors don't know, the city councils don't know, the community doesn't know. A 5% tariff. I hear people say, do you know what that's going to do to the cost of goods? I know what it's going to do. It's going to drive up the cost of goods. Do you know what 1.1 illegal aliens are going to do to this country? It's going to drive up the cost of property taxes and schooling and law enforcement and health care. So this isn't a cost thing to me. This is a president who's getting no help from the Democrats. The Republicans, when they controlled the Senate and the House, didn't do a damn thing to secure that border, and he's trying to fix it.
It used to be,
Yes.
You might remember, the southern border problem was a manufactured crisis.
About 4 months ago.
Yeah. Now it's, okay, maybe there's a crisis, but it's your fault, Mr. President. How did we go from there to there?
Because they lie. You know, one of the lines they were using on this president when they were separating children from adults, because, and the Democrats, you're separating children from their parents. We now know in almost 40% of the cases, they weren't their parents. And they were trying to figure out if these are predators, perverts, what's going on here. And you can't just send these little kids on with these adults. We don't know who they are, and we don't even know how to get information on a lot of them. But it was rather curious to me when they said it's like internment camps. Because I wanted to remind them that it was their great hero, Franklin Roosevelt, who actually set up internment camps and put Japanese Americans and Americans of Japanese descent in internment camps. As a matter of fact, when you look at most of the real horrors done in this country, it's the Democrat Party, and more recently the left, that has abused power. And so, no, Trump didn't set up internment camps. That would be your hero, Franklin Roosevelt. And what he was trying to do, and what they are trying to do, is make sure those kids are safe, because they don't know who they're with. It's rather strange to have a political party in this. I can talk about the Republicans too, but it's rather strange to have a political party in this country that hates the country. I'm told I'm very provocative when I say these things, but I don't care. You have a Democrat Party that puts party first, and that's what the hard left does. Party first. I don't put Republican first, do you? We're Americans. We put the country first. I talk about Americanism. They put their party first. So you have a party that attacks the most successful economic system on the face of the earth, the best healthcare system on the face of the earth, the most beneficent law enforcement on the face of the earth, the most courageous military on the face of the earth, the Constitution itself, destroying it while they wave it around. What kind of a party is this? And listen to these candidates who are running. We're a systemically racist country. When people south of the border who don't happen to be Caucasian are trying to pour into this country by the millions, why would they try and come into a systemically racist country? Or you have people trying to come into this country to make a living, and they talk about the wage gap. First of all, what wage gap? Get off your ass and earn whatever you want to. There is no wage gap. Pretty good, right? Next, part 2 is even better. Why? Audience participation, questions and answers. We get a lot of great questions. I don't know about my answers, but I do my best. So you won't want to miss that in our next episode of Levin TV. That's it.